as they take on the West Virginia Mountaineers in Morgantown.
Troy, only 3 head coaches of Mizzou have won their debuts.
This is Tailgaters.
I'm Cameron Redler, hoping to have a show as good as the Cubs' regular season.
And I'm Troy D'Souza, hoping to not have a show like Florida State this weekend. Coming up on Tailgaters, we'll be covering the MLB wildcards, NHL World Cup, and big losses around college football.
But first, NFL Week 2 had a lot to live up to following a stellar Week 1. Let's see if it could please. Texans and Chiefs. First quarter, DeAndre Hopkins makes a reception, 27 of his 113 yards for this touchdown. Chiefs couldn't score and lose.
And then Tevin Coleman with the fourth quarter, 13-yard rushing touchdown. Falcons follow home loss with a well-needed road win.
Broncos and Colts under 2 left. The Colts trying to win it. Von Miller gets the sack. Shane Ray returns the fumble to the house. The Denver defense scored as many touchdowns as the Colt offense in this win.
Coming up, the Titans and Lions. Andre Johnson's lone catch for a touchdown with 1:13 to go is the difference in Detroit as the Titans get the win.
Fourth quarter, Jets, Bills, Matt Forte. This 12-yard rush TD would ice the game. He is second in the league in rushing.
In the Ravens and the Browns, Justin Tucker in the fourth quarter, 49-yard field goal to take the lead. He would add another for insurance. Browns driving with a chance to win. Josh McCown throws picked off at the end zone by C.J. Mosley. He's likely to miss next week with a shoulder injury. Cody Kessler, the new starter.
Rams, Seahawks. Seahawks are driving. Christine Michael fumbles away the game in the last possession. As you'll see, Alec Ogletree, the new middle linebacker for the departed James Laurinaitis, gets his hand in there, forces the fumble, and the Rams would win their LA debut. Still, though, without a touchdown since 1994.
On to the Steelers and Bengals. 2 minutes left. Rookie Tyler Boyd, who played at Pitt, fumbles in Steeler territory. James Harrison, former Defensive Player of the Year, he still got it. He forces the game-deciding giveaway.
Yeah, Troy, let's take a look here. Boyd gets the ball here, just loses it. Big fat knee, pokes it out. Giants Saints, 1:49 left. Victor Cruz, back from his injury, makes a ridiculous catch to set up the game-deciding field goal. This is 2 weeks in a row now where Victor Cruz has made the clutch play when it mattered the most for the Giants. Last week it was a touchdown. This week it is this deep pass here. And again, this would set up the game-winning field goal here as time expires. The Giants are now 2-0.
Staying in the East, in the fourth quarter, Alfred Morris returns to Washington, carries it 4 yards to the house to take the lead. Kirk Cousins has the last attempt, the final Hail Mary, gets the distance on it, but it's too far, and that'll be no good. Cowboys hold on for the win.
We now go Patriots-Dolphins, up 21-0 already. Potentially a deciding moment in the game. Jimmy Garoppolo, already with 3 touchdowns, gets crushed by linebacker Kiko Alonso, acquired in the offseason from the Eagles. Leaves with an AC joint sprain in the throwing shoulder. This would allow the Dolphins to come back, make a push. But as you'll see, this Ryan Tannehill final Hail Mary. He throws it up, gives his receiver a chance, but it is picked off, and the Patriots would escape with a victory, move to 2-0.
And to the NFC North, the Vikings and the Packers. In the third quarter, Adrian Peterson tears his meniscus, leaves the game, unknown return. The timetable right now looking at a few weeks. But just the same, on the same drive, Stephon Diggs makes a touchdown reception. And that he's the first Viking receiver with back-to-back 100-yard games to start the season since Chris Carter in '97. Aaron Rodgers with the pick there, that would decide the game. And the Vikings win the first game in US Bank Stadium.
We now welcome in 23 sports reporter and analyst Justin Bjorseth. Justin, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. So, Justin, let's just get right into it. The Colts, now 0-2 to start the season, a rough beginning. Should the Colts be concerned going forward? And on top of that, I know their head coach, Chuck Pagano, a little bit of job controversy last year. Some people calling for him to be fired. He kept it, but off to a rough start right here. Is his job in trouble, and should the Colts be concerned?
Well, I don't think the Colts should be any more concerned than they were after Week 1. I don't think that a lot of people expected them to beat Denver. Denver's still a top-tier team in the AFC. The loss to the Lions Week 1 is what concerns me more. As far as Pagano's job goes, I think that if Luck doesn't develop as a quarterback or continue to develop the way that we thought he would, then Pagano eventually has to go. You're going to have a situation like you had in Washington it became a battle between RG3 and the head coaches, and they eventually sided with the quarterback, and I think the same thing could happen in Indianapolis.
Yeah, absolutely. You brought up some good points, and they have an easier next set of few games, so I also am not too worried about it. And reminder, they also started 0-2 last season, didn't make the playoffs. The year before, also 0-2, they did make the playoffs, so a little bit of concern, but I'm not too worried. What about you, Cam?
I'm a bit worried. The defense is shaky. It's always been a complaint of the Colts. Their defense really hasn't been good the last 5-10 years. Andrew Luck, you know what you're going to get. He's a star. But the talent around him, the skill positions need to step up. I don't know which one of these running backs is going to really emerge as their go-to, but one of them needs to. And their offensive line, shoddy at best. Outside of Andrew Luck, I just don't see the talent on this team going forward. I don't think they're a playoff team, so I'd be worried. As for Chuck Pagano, I think we have to see how the rest of the season plays out. I think if they could push for a playoff spot at least, I think his job is going to be safe. But if things start going downhill, an injury to Andrew Luck, that might be his job.
You guys don't see them as the favorites in that division anymore?
That's a tough call.
Bad division.
It's not a great division. They could pull it out. I think it has to be division or bust. They're not going to pull out a wild card in the AFC.
Definitely not.
Too much talent going around. And I think if you look at the AFC, the West, you're looking at the Chargers, Chiefs. Chargers already off to a decent start. The Chiefs are off to a decent start. I see one of those teams slipping into a playoff as well.
Oakland doesn't look too bad either.
Oakland, absolutely.
They've been looking good.
That's going to be a good division battle, actually.
It will be.
Yeah, and with another shoulder injury now, Robert Griffin III may miss the rest of the season. Right now the timetable is at 10 to 12 weeks. You know, frankly, he didn't look that good healthy either. So with a small sample size, Justin, is RG3's career done? He's had a few different injuries. Is it over?
If I were him, I'd probably call it quits because I would just be demoralized at this point. Every time he comes back, he just gets hurt again. But I think that there's always going to be teams desperate enough for quarterbacks to give him a chance. I mean, the Vikings had to make a trade for Sam Bradford. Like, things happen, and teams, I think, at one point are going to see if they can rekindle the RG3 magic.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to disagree. I think, in the words of Charles Barkley, I think you keep collecting them checks. I don't think he's a starter anymore. But listen, someone's going to give him a job as a backup. And if you get paid $1 million a year to sit on a bench, that's a no-brainer for me. He's never going to live up to that rookie year he had, number 2 pick status. I think he's just too battered, too beaten. I think the confidence is shot. But I think there's a job out there somewhere on a bench. I mean, come on.
I think backup quarterback, best job in the league, maybe best job in the world.
I can't think of anything better.
Right, you just get. But I mean, as much as I'd like for him to keep trying, you know, obviously he was very explosive, very exciting to watch when he was healthy that first season. But listen to the injury. He's got a torn ACL and MCL, dislocated ankle. He had a concussion that kept him out, and now the shoulder injury. That takes a toll on your body. That's a lot to go through. So I don't know. I want the best for him. I think for his own health and safety, might be best if he just kind of lays off. But I definitely think he'll still be around.
All right, moving on. All 4 teams in the NFC West are 1-1 after 2 weeks. We saw the Rams just beat the Seahawks. So, Justin, I'm going to ask you, who do you think is the best team in the division? I
think I have to go with the Cardinals, only because of process of elimination. The Rams haven't scored a touchdown yet. Seattle just got beat 9-3 against the Rams and barely beat the Dolphins week 1, needed a late comeback. In San Francisco, I don't know if I can trust them to do anything. They were terrible last season, and I don't know how much has changed.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I really like the Seahawks still. I think it's only a matter of time for this offense to show up. The offense has a habit of starting slow. Yeah. You know the defense is going to be there. And so far, the defense is still off to a good start as well. I think there's too much talent on each side of the ball. Russell Wilson, too good as a quarterback. I think they're still the best team in the division. We already saw Arizona lose to the Patriots. A great team, but at home, without their starting quarterback, without Rob Gronkowski, no Tom Brady, I think I'm a fan of the Seahawks in this division.
They're a little shaky, but yeah, I agree. I definitely agree that I think the Seahawks are totally going to figure it out. You know, like you said, they always start off kind of slow. The defense has not been the issue at all. They just have to find that groove in the offense. And I think, you know, somebody like Russell Wilson leading the offense, I think they'll be able to figure it out and definitely take the division. But again, still kind of up in the air. Cardinals are a great team, like you were saying over there, Justin. But I don't know. I think the Seahawks will figure it out.
Not much of a rushing attack, though. Really struggling to compensate for the loss of Marshawn Lynch.
That's true.
I think Seahawks fans were a bit overly optimistic going in. They saw what Christian Michael could do in the past. They saw what Thomas Rawls could do in the past. And they had good spurts at times, but they're not beast mode. And I think they're missing that play action. I think they're missing the read option with Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch. A real weapon in that offense.
I think they're missing his presence in the locker room as well, just having him around the team. He was one of the players' favorite guys to have around them, I guess.
Yeah.
Just a genuinely fun guy.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that division shapes up. But also, there's been talk of the Rams extending Jeff Fisher's contract. He's never won more than 7 games as a Rams head coach, and they're even saying that maybe they've already agreed on the deal. They're just waiting to talk it out. Should the Rams pull the trigger on the Jeff Fisher contract extension if they haven't already decided?
No, I think that the team has to score a touchdown before you can give the coach a contract extension. And I think in addition to that, you just drafted a quarterback #1 overall in Jared Goff, and you have Jeff Fisher saying, I don't really like him. I don't think he's going to be like anything on this team for a little while. So kind of like Andrew Luck, Chuck Pagano type situation. Like, are you going to give Jeff Fisher an extension if it means that you're not going to be able to get what you hoped for in your #1 pick at quarterback?
Yeah, so I know what's going to happen. They're going to give him the extension. Is that the right thing to do? Absolutely not. His nickname in Tennessee, I don't know if you guys know, Mr. 8-8.
Yeah.
He's still, and you know what? He had the 8-8 reputation. He still hasn't even reached 8 wins with these Rams teams. He had every opportunity to get there and at least acquire the talent to do it through the RG3 trade, and he never did it. I don't know when he's going to find another opportunity, especially trading up all their future first-round picks for Goff. I don't know when they're going to acquire this talent to advance to the level, take the steps they need to become a playoff squad. I see them as another 6-10, 7-9 team. I think Jeff Fisher is seriously the luckiest coach in the league with Stan Kroenke as an owner. Maybe the worst owner in football. But no, they shouldn't get. In his 20 seasons as a head coach, he has 6 winning seasons. It's time for a change. Get him out of there.
Yeah, and recently he's just jumped to 3rd most losses all time. So, the company he has is good, but that's also because they have significantly more wins than him. I think they're still going to do it, kind of like what you were saying. I don't think it's the right move. But then I have a question: Who's on the market? Who would be a better fit for them?
I mean, that's a good question. There's plenty of good coordinators going around that you could probably look at. I mean, most head coaches start as coordinators anyway. Off the top of my head, I don't know. But Jeff Fisher, clearly not the answer.
No.
I mean, they say the definition of insanity is beating yourself over and over again, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I think you know what you're going to get from Jeff Fisher at this time. You heard him on Hard Knocks. He said, I'm fed up with the 7-9 BS, but it's still the same stuff. They still can't score. They have no talent on offense. I'm not a fan.
I think they'd have to look to a college coach, if anything. I don't know how much is out there in the NFL as far as coordinators go. I think, I hate to say this, but Jim Harbaugh has a lot of ties to California. He was at San Diego, and then he was at Stanford, and then with the 49ers, too. I think that, they could definitely make the pitch to him. We're out at L.A. now. We have a lot of talent. Todd Gurley, Jared Goff, they know what Harbaugh can do with quarterbacks, and I think that's definitely a reasonable pitch, or someone else from college.
That'd be actually very interesting that you mentioned that. Go back to the NFC West.
How crazy.
Battle twice a year, the team he used to coach for, the 49ers. We'll see how it shapes out. Deal, like we said, not announced yet, but there's been rumors going around for weeks now that it's going to get done, only a matter of time. Justin, thank you so much for joining us tonight. When we return, we'll talk about the World Cup of Hockey. Don't touch that dial.
Welcome back to Tailgaters. Cam, do hockey fans tailgate?
Good question, Troy. I don't know the answer, but if the saying hot as ice holds true, this weekend was fuego. To Canada we go. Already up 1-0 in the first period, right winger Martin Gaborik of the LA Kings puts Europe ahead. To the second period now, off a turnover, Edmonton Oilers forward Leon Draisaitl on this fast break, runs a nifty little give and go. This is easy money, puts it in. Europe ahead 2-0 now. Pierre-Edouard Bellemare finishes the scoring. The right winger of the Philadelphia Flyers deflects the shot past Jonathan Quick. The USA will lay an egg on the brink of elimination now. Canada, Czech Republic, this was a blowout. Sid the Kid starts the onslaught with a wraparound goal here in the first period. Now off a turnover in the own zone. Patrice Bergeron, Bruin centerman, beats the first period buzzer to make it 3-0. Canada continued the beatdown, would win this match 6-0. Europe and Czech Republic now in the second round of matches. Down 2-1, Blue Vladimir Sobotka shoots wide, but Arizona Coyote Martin Hansel puts it back in to force overtime. In overtime, Europe was not phased. Leon Draisaitl again beats Red Wing goaltender Peter Mrazek to clinch victory.
Group B, North America taking on Finland. Centerman Jack Eichel of the Sabres with the score, finishes off the power play. Colton Parayko keeps the puck in, shots deflected in by Johnny Gaudreau. And the Canadian USA youngsters skate circles around Pekarine and Finland. On to Sweden and Russia now, down 2-0 with an empty net. 3-time Hart winner Alexander Ovechkin throws a prayer into the net, hits the crossbar and in. That's easy there. With 11 seconds left, Russia wins the draw in the Swedish zone. Tarasenko throws the puck at the net. Ovechkin thinks he tied it on the rebound. The goal was waved off for throwing it in. Take a look at this replay. Very clearly went off the hand there. And this play would be reviewed just to make sure, but looks like they got the call right. The call would stand as Sweden went on to beat Russia 2-1. And then Russia taking on North America. Vladimir Tarasenko scores Russia's 4th straight goal to go up 3. After the goal change, North Americans fought back admirably but fell short, and they went down 4-3.
Let's now take a look at the standings for the World Cup of Hockey. You look at Group A, Europe, off to a good start. A team a lot of people didn't expect much from, already with 2 early victories. Yeah. Canada 1-0 right now, playing the United States as we speak. The Czech Republic, tough loss to start, and the overtime. And then the United States laid an egg against Europe, currently in battle with Canada. As we record at this moment, actually, first goal of the game up on Canada. You look at Group B, Sweden Sweden on the top there. 2 wins, no losses, followed by Russia, who suffered the heartbreaking loss, but then came out and dominated North America. You look at the young North Americans, played admirably in their first match, a bit outmatched, though, by the Russians. And then you look at Finland, already falling behind. Tough start for the Finns. What do you make of the tournament so far?
It's been pretty interesting. I'll tell you what, though, that North American team, remember, they're 23 and under. Very exciting to watch. You know, they're like a mini all-star team out there. They're having fun. They're doing their thing. They've been exciting to watch. Europe, a bit of a surprise, as you were saying. You know, kind of underdog role early on. They weren't, supposed to do as well as they are, but here they are up top.
Yeah, I personally did not expect much going into this tournament. I'm thinking World Cup, really mostly for soccer.
Yeah.
And basketball, I really wasn't expecting much from the hockey side of things. And I thought all these boo-boo teams being put together, North American youngsters and the European squad consisting of 8 countries, I was thinking.
I didn't even understand it at first. There's a lot going on there. I don't know how hockey's running, but.
Troy, this is so much fun.
It's exciting.
Competition is crazy. Seeing all of these all-stars and the NHL just assembled on all these different teams doing battle, it's really exciting. And these games have been on fire. They've been awesome. Yeah,
you mentioned a lot of all-stars, a lot of big-name players from the NHL. Russia's my pick to win right now. They've got with guys like Kuznetsov, Tarasenko, Ovechkin, and Kucherov.
A dynamic trio.
There's a lot going over there. And let's not forget Sergei Bobrovsky. He was a wall against North America. He didn't let anything through. They've been really good. All-star lineup there. I'm liking their chances.
Yeah, I'm going to go Canada. The Olympic gold medalist and just most talented team by far. Led by Sid the Kid and just numerous all-stars. They're easily the most stacked roster. The way they just dominated from the get-go, going up 6-0 in their first match against the Czech Republic. I don't see this team being stopped. Interesting development, though, in their second match as the United States, as we mentioned, leading now. Still plenty of time, though. I think Canada's going to figure it out. And whether they don't win or lose this game, I think they're still the favorites going forward. But while hockey is just starting up, baseball is winding down, and the playoffs are starting to take shape. The Cubs were the first team to clinch a playoff spot by winning the NL Central. Troy, are they the favorites to break the curse?
Kim, this is going to go one of 2 ways here. They're set up for either the biggest heartbreak Chicago has ever seen or the biggest party the city of Chicago has ever. That city will erupt. There's no in the middle, though. I like their chances going in. Obviously, they clinched early on. They've got an all-star lineup all around. I think their chances are looking good, but, be mindful. The Cardinals might slip in there. Always a concern, but I like their chances so far.
Yeah, listen, they're going to be the favorites, and as they should be. They're clearly by far and away the best team in baseball. Top to bottom, whether it's pitching, whether it's hitting, they are the whole package. They're probably going to have the Cy Young and MVP on their team. Just an unreal roster. But I'm going to tell you, they're not going to win it. Mark my words now. I'll give you a stat. Since 1995, when the 3-tier playoff system was put into place, there have been 2 instances of the outright records leader at the end of the regular season winning it all. 2 out of 21. The odds are not in their favor.
Those numbers aren't. Those numbers. The math checks out, but I don't know. It doesn't look good for them based on that stat. But there's more to it than just that, of course.
And you know what? I think there's something to that as well. When you're playing so well in the regular season and lock it up as much as they have, I think there's a tendency to maybe gain some complacency. You start resting players. Maybe not trying as hard. The urgency isn't as there. You lose your edge. By doing that, you're losing your edge a little bit, and that's why you see so many of these great teams not get it done. In the playoffs, a lot of time, especially in baseball, isn't so much about necessarily your talent, but about who gets hot at the right time.
Of course. Yeah,
And,
teams like San Francisco, every even year they seem to get hot at the right time. I don't know, always in general. But yeah, you're right. The Cubs, I mean, it's all about, resting players is a great philosophy. Some coaches like Greg Popovich, NBA, obviously a big proponent of that. But doesn't always work out. I understand the philosophy, but like you said, sometimes you got to keep the streak rolling.
There is still 2 weeks in the regular season. The Cubs really haven't shown any signs of slowing down yet. A lot remains to be seen, though. Namely, who wins these wild cards.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at that now. While the NL Central is decided, the wild cards in each league is still far from it. We look at the National League. It's a 3-horse race between the Mets, Giants, and the Cardinals. These are updated as of last night.
Yep.
Since then, the Cardinals have actually tied the Giants and are a game back of the Mets. In the American League, much, much more wide open. There's 5 or 6 teams in the race, all within 3 games. You look at Baltimore, Toronto in there currently, but then you look at Detroit, Seattle, Houston, still on their heels.
Back.
Yeah, still a lot to be decided. And you look at these teams too, namely the Houston Astros, who have made a postseason run before. Orioles are no strangers to the playoffs as well. Neither are Detroit. Talent in Seattle also stacked. Really, it's going to be an exciting last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and like you said, especially in the American League, a lot of it's a little more wide open. I know going back 2 more teams or so, it's maybe a 5-game race between the last few teams. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that shapes up. And a lot closer. Cardinals, like you said, they're tied now. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep hold of that and kind of sneak in.
Yeah, and I think especially in the National League, you look at teams that have such a good pedigree, the Giants and the Cardinals and the Mets. The Mets, in the World Series a year ago, they know how to make a run. Dealing with injuries, but they're on fire right now. I think having won 20 of their last 27.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals, 2 World Series in the last decade. The Giants have won 3 since 2010. All these teams playoff hardened. They know how to get it done in crunch time, which is I think what makes it so exciting. In the American League, you're just looking at just a cluster of teams just trying to claw their way in. And for a sport that really gets knocked for being slow, boring, I think this is exciting is all heck.
It's shaping up to be these last 2 weeks. Definitely going to be a little more exciting. And you mentioned the Mets, how they've been, the last 20, 25 games or so they've been doing good. In my opinion, they got a cakewalk end of the season. They have a series against the Phillies, the Braves, and the Marlins.
Yeah, the rest of the season they don't play a winning team.
I think they'll definitely maintain that spot. The spot against San Francisco and the Cardinals, a little more up in the air. I think San Francisco's going to keep that, but I also wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals sneak in.
So now let's go predictions now. In the American League and National League, who are your 2 wild cards?
National League, I'll keep the Mets, and give me the Giants.
Okay, and in the American League?
American League, I think the Blue Jays are going to stay in, and I think the Astros are actually going to sneak in. I think they're going to get there. They also have an easy schedule. They got 2 series against the Angels, a little bigger of a matchup against the Mariners, who's also in contention, but especially if they win those games, that'll boost them.
I half agree with you in each league. I do think the Mets get in. I think they're the hottest in the National League of the wild card teams currently. But I see the Cardinals sneaking in. By splitting the series this past weekend, they own the tiebreaker.
Big wins, big wins.
They're currently even in the standings, and the Giants have been the worst team in baseball since the All-Star break. I think their plunge continues, and I think the Cardinals find a way in. They just know how to get it done. They haven't missed a playoff in 6-7 years. I think they're my team. And in the American League, I do like Baltimore, sitting pretty. Their offense just rolling right now. And I do like the Blue Jays. I think I like how the standings look right now. I don't think those change. The Blue Jays, another dynamic offense. If they can get their pitching figured out, I think they'll get it done. When we come back, we're going to talk some college football, some lights, some Camerons, some Lamar Action Jackson. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for sticking with us here on Tailgaters. Troy, what sport do you think has the best tailgates?
College football?
I think you speak the truth. And there was a lot going on this week. For the first time in NCAA history, all of the top 3 ranked teams played other ranked opponents on the road.
Yep, let's take a look. This week, Cam, I really think that this week separated the pretenders and the contenders.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think these ranked matchups really set the stage for separating these teams. I think, namely, you look at Bama, Ole Miss. Bama struggled out of the gate, but just manhandled Ole Miss.
It took a little while for them to get going, but like you said, they just took off.
I mean, that's a typical Alabama-Ole Miss game, though. Ole Miss always seems to get them in trouble, but Alabama just laid the wood in the second half.
Yeah.
Ended up just steamrolling. Ole Miss made it close at the end, but it really was more one-sided than that. And I think you look at Oklahoma and OSU, the way OSU just marched into Norman. This is not something you say much about Oklahoma, but they looked overmatched.
Yeah.
And I think it's about time. I read this on ESPN this week. OSU, I think, is at this Bama level. where
Definitely. I would
when
say
they
so.
graduate players and these NFL talents, they can really just, they're a factory now. They can replace them, and these young guys can step up and fill in like there's nothing leaving.
Absolutely. We talked about this matchup last week. We knew Ohio State coming into Oklahoma. Oklahoma hasn't looked too good recently. And Ohio State, on the other hand, looking more Alabama-esque, where they're just taking control no matter where they go, who they're playing. It doesn't matter. They're not worried about the name on the front. They're going to get it done. And then you talk about Ole Miss and Bama. Very, lopsided game at the very beginning. You saw in those highlights 24-3 at one point in favor of Ole Miss. Obviously, Alabama got rolling. Ole Miss couldn't get it 3 in a row, haven't beaten them the last 2.
Yeah, I think they clearly have distinguished themselves as the 2 best teams in the country. But someone who's trying to dethrone them now is the Louisville Cardinals.
Yeah.
They manhandle Florida State this week, win by 40.
We can go for they obliterated. They demolished. I don't have any more words for this. They
Stop.
destroyed them.
Destroyed.
They got wrecked.
It is what it is. And Louisville really making a statement this week against a team a lot of people had they were top 3, and a lot of people had as college football favorites, playoff favorites, title favorites, and Louisville just laid the wood on them. And so I guess that brings me to my question. Do you think they're legit? Do you think this is a one-week wonder, or do you think they can keep this going?
I don't think it's a one-week wonder, but I'm definitely buying the hype. I definitely buy into Lamar Action Jackson, as you said. He's been on fire. He's doing it all, man. He also looks like Jimmy Butler and Russell Westbrook. A little fusion there. He's that kind of freak athlete, freak quarterback. He's been doing it all. He straight up took, like you said, he manhandled Florida State. Us last week, we thought they were a top 3 team easy.
We both had them in our playoffs.
We both had them in our playoffs, and then they just get destroyed by this 10th ranked Louisville team.
You can typically afford a loss in college football and still have a chance to make this playoff.
Yeah.
I think the way Louisville just dominated Florida State this week,
it's hard to come back from.
They may have just knocked them out of the playoff contention.
Yeah. It's a little early to say that, but still, it's, that kind of, I don't even know the word for it. That kind of loss is just it's so devastating. What it does to your chances, to your team, a lot.
Lamar Jackson getting high praise this week, too, from none other than Mike Vick, a dominant college player in his own right, said he is 5 times better than he was. That's high praise.
That's pretty bold. That's a lot to say coming from Michael Vick, who obviously very explosive, very dynamic, and we're seeing kind of flash of that with Lamar Jackson doing it all.
We'll see if Louisville can maintain their momentum moving forward. Troy, it's time for our new segment that you don't want to be a part of.
Boneheaded. It was stupid. He's a dingus. I don't know what else to say about it. I wish I could get inside his head.
Dingus, I think, is the accurate
That's
word.
the only word you could use to describe it.
You could rate it dingus.
I would. Almost definitely would.
It's fair to say, certifiable dingus.
Yes. I would give him the certificate right now. That's what he is.
Certifiable dingus. Certifiable dingus. Dingus.
Yeah, so we had many good contenders this week for our dingus of the week, but one stood out above the rest. Tell me about it, Cam. What went wrong here?
Yeah, so this was, what a play. Ahmad Harris, Clemson, South Carolina State, the Clemson kicker boots it, and the grad student receiver and kick returner forgets to take a knee, instead tossing the ball to the official. Troy, if you didn't know, that's actually a fumble. Clemson would pounce on it and get a touchdown. Really indicative of the game as a whole. Clemson was beating them so bad at halftime that they agreed to actually shorten the second half. But hey, Troy, at least South Carolina State, $1 million richer.
Yeah, they are, and at least he made it on our show. That's something he can be proud of, I guess.
He could say, hey, Mom, I made Tailgaters.
Yeah, and his mom would be like, what? But still, obviously, like we said, not a segment you want to be a part of. A lot of goofiness going on in college football, and in general, you see people still, for some reason, will drop the ball before they get into the end zone.
Yeah, there was like 3 examples of that in just the last couple weeks. Easily could have made this segment, but we figured this one was special.
This is different.
You don't see this every day.
You don't see it ever. I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't know. You just take the knee. It's not that hard, guys. Come on.
Ahmad Harris, you are our
Put me in, coach.
of the week.
Put me in. I'll return that. No, I'll just take a knee. But that'll do it for this week. Head over to our website at mutv.missouri.edu and be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram and like us on Facebook. Stay updated with everything here at MUTV.
Also, make sure to check out MUTV Stream for all of the latest movies.
For my partner, Cameron Redler, everyone here in the studio, I'm Troy D'Souza. Good night. You need to be stopped.